Okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk about irregulars, and there's not really much to say. We've already talked about the stem changing irregulars in the subjunctive, the present subjunctive. We have also talked about those that have the spelling change, the GARs, CARs, and ZARs. But there's a whole set that are just plain irregular, and these guys you're just going to have to memorize. There's not much else that I can say. There's these guys, right? Actually, let's... There's these guys right here, and then for I, you use aya. Okay, so for dar, you use de, des, de, demos, des, den. Estar, use este, estes, estemos, estés, estén, estén. Ir is vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayáis, vayan. Saber is sepa, sepas, sepa, sepamos, sepáis, sepan. Ser, sea, sea. Seamos, seáis, sean, and sean. Okay, so over here it says, mi hijo quiere que yo blank al parque con él. So my son wants that I go to the park with him, because there is emotion, or actually influence, because there's influence in your main clause, then you're going to put, and that's your main clause, everything before the K is the main clause. Then in the dependent clause, you're going to have to use the subjunctive, which is going to be ir. It's ir for yo. Whoops. Okay, so ir for yo is vaya. So I'm going to put yo, vaya. Okay, down here, el profesor nos recomienda que blank muy bien el capítulo 9. So the professor recommends that we know chapter 9 very well. So because you've got influence, nos recomienda in your main clause. Remember this, everything before the K is your main clause. Then in your dependent clause, you're going to need to use the subjunctive form. And the subject of the dependent clause would be the indirect object of the main clause. So we're going to conjugate for nosotros over here. And it should be saber. Saber is irregular. Saber for nosotros is sepamos. Roberto quiere que el mesero le blank un refresco, that he gives him a drink, tiene mucha sed. So again, we've got influence here in our main clause. So this is our subject and our dependent clause. So we're going to conjugate dar for el mesero. So we have dar, and for el, that would be de. Okay. Susana quiere que sus hijos blank en casa para cenar. They come home to eat, or go home to eat. So we've got influence again in our main clause. So we're going to conjugate for sus hijos. It's going to be ir, and then it's irregular, so ir for sus hijos would be vayan. Tus padres quieren que tú blank piloto, ¿verdad? So your parents want you to be a pilot. Again, it's influence in your main clause, so we're going to conjugate for the subject in the dependent clause. It's going to be ser, and ser for tú would be seas. Siempre les pido a mis amigos que no me blank regalos muy caros en mi cumpleaños. So again, this is more like influence, or we're going to get into like a written in a command type form. So I'm asking that they don't do this, so I'm exerting my influence on them in my main clause. So then usually your indirect object of your main clause becomes the subject, so that would be them or they. That becomes the subject of your dependent clause, which is going to be dar for them. Whoopsies. dar for them would become den. Okay. Anita quiere que mi esposo y yo blanca la fiesta con ella esta noche. Anita wants my husband and I to go to the party with her. Again, there's influence in my main clause, so I'm going to conjugate the subject in my dependent clause into the subjunctive form. It's going to be ir. And ir for my husband and I is vayamos. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the rest.